Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on DigiQuatics Staff Scheduling module. Today, I am going to show you how to save a ton of time in your staff scheduling process. So I see a couple of people are trickling in here. If you can, please drop a quick comment in the chat to let me know that you can see my video and hear my audio pretty well. Hope that everybody is doing very well. Happy New Year to you all. I can feel the energy. The energy is high. Perfect. Hello, Marcy. Bob, good to see you. Awesome. Good deal. So a few things today just to kind of intro. If you guys don't know me already, my name is Josh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of DigiQuatics. And the short version of the story is that, oh gosh, 2008, so however many years ago that was, 10 years ago, I was 15 years old, being the lifeguard and helping out as a pool manager for the city of Lakewood here near Denver, Colorado, and just saw a huge opportunity to help streamline the way that pools are run, specifically in the staff scheduling place, which we're going to cover today. But basically, just all around, I'm really passionate about aquatics, improving risk management for pools, and helping people just save a ton of time so that they can focus on more important things and not doing a bunch of paperwork. Obviously, the paperwork is really important, but we found a lot of ways to just streamline the whole process to improve record keeping and make it so that people can focus on staff training and improving programs at their pool and a bunch of other things rather than chasing paperwork. So kind of the high level agenda for today, what we're going to talk about is how in DigiQuatics you can create multiple locations or departments or what we call them. So that you can schedule at one or multiple facilities. So a lot of times staff are shared between several outdoor pools in one region, or it could just be one indoor pool, and that works totally fine too. But we found that a lot of staff scheduling softwares kind of lack in the department of sharing staff between multiple locations. So specifically, I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about how to add different positions and job titles. So frequently, I was working a lifeguard shift, and then I'd hop in the pool and work a WSI instructor shift for an hour and a half to teach lessons with different pay rates. So we're going to talk about how that's kind of unique for staff scheduling and aquatics, how to invite your employees so that they're using the technology that they're familiar with. The millennials and Gen Zers are all using their phones. We can hardly keep them off of them. So how to invite them to join the schedule. We're going to talk about how to keep track of all of their availabilities and time off requests. So I've seen a couple of memes trickling or like screenshots of chats, lately where people are like, I need more hours, but I can only work every other Thursday evening, the closing shift or something like that. So obviously, to some extent, we have to try and work with some of those things. That's a little bit of an extreme case, but just keeping track of who can work. People have band camp and swim practice and just lots of things going on. So figuring out when people are available to work and when they need time off if they're going to be on vacation and things like that. How to create your shifts, whether you're doing like templated style scheduling or if you're doing just, whenever people can work. We're going to go through both of those. How to actually publish and notify your staff of the shifts that they are scheduled for. I've also seen a couple of people say, well, I didn't know that I was scheduled. You never told me that I was scheduled to work. So we're going to have a better solution to that problem as well. And then finally, once you publish your schedule, of course, it changes immediately. So how to manage shift trades and also publishing open shifts so that staff can pick up those shifts for you when you need a little bit of extra coverage. So I'm going to jump into a screen share here real quick, and we are going to dive into this. So, should be sharing my DigiQuatics dashboard now. You should see the quick links, action items, and time clock. I just want to make sure that this is being shared properly. It looks good. Okay, perfect. So, a couple high-level things before we get really deep into this. In the settings, I'm actually not going to create different locations, but rather just kind of show you that it works with multiple locations. So basically, I've created a location for the Bikini Bottom Aquatic Center, Black Rock Community Center Aquatics, Black Rock Community Center Front Desk, And so to highlight this example specifically, a lot of times people will use DigiQuatics, even though the name DigiQuatics hints toward just aquatics specifically. They will use DigiQuatics for multiple departments within one facility. And as far as the technology goes, we have tons of customers that actually use DigiQuatics for scheduling in their entire organization as well. So one way to separate out by the different departments is to create something like a front desk location versus an aquatics location that are actually at the same facility. So you can have as many locations as you'd like. They don't have to be at the same physical address. You can separate them by department as well. Kind of leading into this, you can put in the address, and one of the time clock modules, which we can talk about at a later date, will actually use the GPS on the employee's phone to make sure that they are there when they are clocking in and clocking out. So you know that they're actually on site. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the Q&A portion or the chat as well. I'm going to monitor both of those as we kind of go through. And then, of course, we'll have a little bit of time at the end for live Q&A as well. But please interrupt me if there's anything that doesn't make sense or you'd like to have a quick recap of it, because there's a ton of content here. Okay, so creating locations is one thing. The next thing we're going to talk about is creating positions. So we like to define positions, or job titles as some people call them. Usually they have a different pay rate. So, these can be whatever you want them to be is the bottom line. So an aquatics coordinator position, an MOD position, a lifeguard position, whatever people work at different pay rates, you can create those positions. And then you can also color code them. So like if you want all your MOD shifts to be red as an example, and all your lifeguards to be blue, you can customize the color of each of these. You'll notice also we have a default pay rate of $12 an hour for a lifeguard position, which depending on where you're at is pretty nice. Could, arguably be not very nice from some people's perspective, but anyway. This default hourly rate, so when I go to an employee and actually put the lifeguard position, it's going to default their pay to $12 an hour, but then you can actually change that if they actually work a different rate. So if they get a pay raise or something like that, you can change that as well on their profile. Any questions so far? Feel free to drop them in. Otherwise, I'm going to keep chugging along. So those are the positions. Next, I'm going to hop over to the employees section of DigiQuatics. And basically, the gist here is that when you add an employee, you can add as many employees as you need. Obviously, their first name, last name, phone number, and email address is what you're going to need to create them. And then we have what we call primary and secondary locations. So when I was guarding, I primarily worked at Carmody Rec Center, but I could have also picked up shifts at, say, Glennon Heights and the Link Rec Center. So in this instance, the primary location is basically like the employee's home pool, and you can have as many as you'd like. So it's completely flexible, but that's their home pool. So they're going to show up on that schedule by default. But then if you want them to have access to other locations to pick up sub shifts, you can add that to them after you invite them as an employee. You can also add none or multiple positions. So if they're working as, say, a coach and an instructor and a MOD, you can separate all these out, and then you will be able to assign those types of shifts to them. So they actually have to have that position on their profile in order to pick up shifts and to be assigned those shifts as well. So when you click save here, it's going to send them an email and a text message with a link to log in so that they can finalize the setup of their profile. But the gist here of inviting new employees is they can work at multiple facilities and they can work multiple positions as well. No questions so far. Okay, so once you have all your employees, you can separate them out by their different primary location, just to kind of filter things down, and you can see which positions they have. So Joel here is assigned to several of these locations and has the aquatics coordinator and lifeguard WSI positions as well. And I didn't mention this earlier, but you can put an abbreviation here to make your schedule a little more compact and clean. So this is where you keep track of all your employee information, and that kind of leads into the scheduling. Another option here too is to import employees. So a lot of times it takes a little bit of time to set up a DigiQuatics account. You can actually just import from When to Work or from your payroll system we have an Excel spreadsheet template that you can just populate and upload, and it'll just send everything out and do the invites and everything like that. So if you have like 500 employees, it's way easier to do that than go one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to hop back over to the dashboard here so I can show you a little bit more of the fundamentals for building your schedule. So I'm going to go ahead and just click scheduling. There's a lot of different things kind of at play here, but we have the schedule, which is where we build it, the reporting, which will show us some high level things like what our labor costs are, how many hours are at different places. We've got the sub requests and open shifts, sub modules, I'll call them. We have time off request pending approval, which you can turn off if you'd like, and then employee availabilities. So a lot of moving parts here. We're gonna go through the availabilities real quick, rapid fire, and the time off request before we get to the schedule. So employee availabilities. Basically, employees can log in from their cell phone or a desktop or laptop, any device that has an internet connection. They can go in there and put in the times that they're available. Now, a couple of things I'd like to highlight. They can put in, if they're available or unavailable for a portion of a day or all day. So they can also repeat this across multiple days of the week and for multiple weeks at a time. So doing something like I'm available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the entire semester is a total of 5 clicks to just boom, populate them all. So they can change these from their phone and submit them. I am a manager. I have admin privileges on this account, so I can go in there and edit this on their behalf as well. There's also edit or audit logging. So you can actually see when they submitted their availability. It's date and time stamped and said who did it. So, when they come to you and say, well, I told you I was unavailable and you scheduled me anyway, you can hop in here and say, well, that's not the case. It's easy to keep track of date and time stamps when everything is digital versus on paper. Okay, so another key piece here, you can lock availability. So you see this little lock icon next to each employee. You can say, everybody please submit your availability. I'm going to schedule for February starting on January 15th. And on January 15th, I'm going to lock it. You can go in here and just lock everybody all at once, or you can turn it on and off individually. That's one update that we did a little bit later last year. If you are, if you've been kind of following what we're doing. So you can go in there and lock it down, then they can't change it while you're building the schedule and kind of have that conflict back and forth there. So that is employee availabilities. Again, you can, go by calendar week. You can filter this out by different locations. You can also put in multiple times of the day. So like if you can work before your college class on, Mondays from 1 to 2, and then afterward, you can put in multiple availabilities as well. So that's kind of a aquatic specific thing as well, is being able to do both of those. Okay, I don't see any questions. So unless I'm missing something, I'm going to keep plugging along. Time off requests, you can turn this off completely if you'd like to, but I'm going to showcase it real quick here. Same thing, employees can submit their own time off requests from their phone, tablet, desktop computer, whatever they're using from their side. And then also as a manager, since I have admin privileges, I can submit a time off request on behalf of an employee as well. So, I'm going to say doctor appointment, they can put in a reason. It can be a partial day request. So like if they only need it off from, 5 to 10 a.m. and then they could come work after that, you have the flexibility to do that as well. I'm going to jump back one step here and kind of show you around the dashboard. So under my action items here, I have a few things that are unrelated to staff scheduling we won't talk about today. But one of them here is I have time off request pending approval. I have 8 of those. So this alerts me to let me know I've got 8 time off requests pending approval that I need to go in and process so that I can have that information on the schedule. Now, what I said is slightly incorrect. Even though they're pending approval, they still will show up on the schedule, just in a little bit different color. So that's kind of where the dashboard comes to play, is you can see kind of your list of what you need to take care of today or in the short term. Once these are actually approved or denied, which you can do, for both of those, you can also add a manager note. So, sure thing, no problem. So just a little bit of extra communication. I'm going to go ahead and approve this request. And then as far as the digital paper trail goes, I've got a complete record of when that person requested the time off, who processed it, whether it was approved or denied, and at what date and time that actually happened. So I'm logged in as Standy Starfish. That is me. I just put this note that said sure thing. As with almost all the modules in DigiQuatics, you can export to Microsoft Excel and do your own analytics to figure out, how many time off requests people are putting in and everything like that. So export to Excel is pretty handy as well. Okay, so that's time off requests. And then we're going to jump over to the staff schedule itself. Just going to double check. I don't see any questions. Okay, sweet. I know this is a lot of information, so can I see a calendar that shows me how many people are off each day? Kind of. We'll get to that in a second, Bob. So over here on the schedule builder, basically there's a couple navigation things I want to highlight real quick. So we've got our location filter. So we can either sort or view the schedule by location or by the list of employees that have access to that location. And I'll get to that in a second. We can also drill down to only view certain shifts. So like if we only want to look at the lifeguard schedule or the MODs, we can do that as well. A couple of things here, like if you needed to add a new position or a favorite shift or another location, you can do that from here as well. Obviously moving forward and backward by different weeks, you can do that. You can also use this calendar picker to jump to say January 30th or January 31st, and then go back to today. We also have a day, week, and month view. So I'm just gonna toggle through, actually before I do that. So right now I have the employee toggle selected. And what this means is that this is the employee mode. So basically I get a list of employees that are at Kings Park Rec Center, and I see all of their availabilities, their time off requests in their row and the shifts that they're scheduled. So you can kind of see how this all ties together. So Gabriel has a pending approval time off request for Tuesday the 8th through Friday the 11th, and right now it's yellow, so it's still pending approval. And when I hover over this, I see that it's for winter break. Also, his availability that he submitted, which is a little bit conflicting here, but he said he was available, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I have a bunch of shifts assigned to him as well. Bottom line here is that in employee mode, you see each employee with all of their information under it. The other way, and you can also see how many hours they're currently scheduled. So as you create the schedule, it automatically keeps track of this for you. You don't have to do that by hand anymore. You can see what their desired weekly hours and their max weekly hours are as well. So that is the employee specific information. If I switch over to shift mode, basically the way to look at this, and a lot of people build their schedule in this way, is, hey, I need 2 lifeguards from 6 to 12, and then I need an MOD from 5 to 10. This is just kind of sample data to run through, but here's all the shifts that I need filled, and then I'm going to assign employees that can work those shifts to that. So right now, this is the Kings Park Rec Center schedule, are all these shifts. But if you wanted to just look at, like, say by employee, which shifts is Gabe working, you can switch over to employee mode and view it that way as well. Now, you can set the default. So if you want it to always show shift mode, you can change that favorite setting on your profile as well. So that is the difference between the two modes. Right now, it's defaulted to week mode. I can also see all of these in day mode. So I can get a chronological understanding of, hey, it looks like Gabe is working from 6 to 12 as a lifeguard, and then MOD from 2 to 9 p.m. So this kind of gives you like a timeline layout of who's working what shifts during the day. You can do the same thing in shift mode. It looks just a little bit different. It's the same information, but here's all the open shifts I have. There's actually a bunch of them right now. All my lifeguard shifts starting at the 6 a.m. hour, and then I've got some 2 p.m. to 9 a.m. shifts here too. So it's kind of just like a timeline, almost like a Gantt chart, if you know what those are, of here's kind of my full day. So Bob, to answer your question, in employee mode in week view, there isn't a way to just show like how many people are off each day. But you could certainly look at, Wednesday the 9th, Gabe has a pending time off, Patrick has an all-day time off. So, there's 2 people that have requested time off on that day. So that's one way to look at it. And if you wanted to like branch it out and look at all of your locations at one time, you can certainly do that and kind of scroll down and see how many people. So I didn't mention this, but the all day time off request that says doctor's appointment here, that's red, this one was approved. If it's denied, it doesn't get published over to the schedule. It just gets processed for archive purposes. But that's the way that you can see that. But there isn't like a number that says, you know, up here that 2 people have requested time off in that given day. So I hope that answers that question for you. So those are the 2 different modes for the schedule. And then there's a ton of other things that I'm going to very quickly go over. So creating your schedule. So I've kind of pre-populated this with some sample data just so you can have a feel of like what this might look like. But to give you an idea of how I got here was you can create a schedule however you want to. So if you want to go through and just create individual shifts, let's just say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I need a 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift for my manager on duty. And I need one of these every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 12 weeks. And I only need one because they're an MOD. So I can actually just create all of those shifts very quickly, and then they're going to pop up here. Again, notice the color codes. And then I'm going to say at that same time, I'm going to need a lifeguard, 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. So I'm going to select the lifeguard position, and I'm going to do one every Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 12 weeks, entered those. And then just as an example, I'm going to need 3 lesson instructors from 5 to 6:30 p.m. So I'm going to pick WSI instructor. And these lessons are going to be Tuesday and Thursday for my lesson session, which is going to be 4 weeks long. And then I need 3 staff, so I'm going to just duplicate that shift 3 times. So I basically get 3 copies. Each of those gets assigned to a different employee. A lot of people ask, how do I assign multiple employees to one shift? Basically, you just have to create 3 or however many shifts that you need, which is easy to do with this duplicate function, and then assign each to the person. So you can assign these shifts to a given individual if you would like, but I kind of recommend, you know, creating your unassigned schedule first and then filling from there. And there's a couple ways to do that too. So another shortcut here is if you have the same shifts, right? Like there's always like a 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. MOD shift. So you can actually save that as a preset or a favorite shift and then just select it, and it's going to just pre-populate everything else for you. So favorite shifts is very quick and easy to creating all of your scheduled shifts. The other way to do this is if you actually jump back over to employee mode, you can just straight up assign shifts to employees directly. So if you know that Patrick can work this Monday shift, we're going to say, you know, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And your favorite shift, by the way, doesn't have to be defined like at a specific location. So I'm just going to say he's a lifeguard. Save this shift, and then it's going to put it on his calendar. So a lot of different ways to create the schedule. You can use repeating shifts to do those kind of like Monday, Wednesday, Friday things to create more shifts all at one time. But then you don't necessarily have to assign the same person to all those shifts. You can just fill them in individually. So based on who's available, I can then actually go through and just fill out, you know, 1 week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. I can just click on this shift. I can go in there and see how many hours. So Gabe has 0 hours scheduled this week. His desired is 15 and his max is 40. Kirsten said she's available from 1 to 9 p.m. on that day. So I'm actually going to go ahead and assign that shift to Kirsten, and then now she's assigned to it. So if I wanted to, for your shifts that are created in series, like if you have the same schedule, you know, for the entire semester, you can just say update all. It'll assign all of the shifts in the series to that person. And then if they need a sub or something, they can sub out 1 or multiple of their shifts if they need to as well. Okay, so a few other ways to create some shifts. We also have a template importer. So if you have this information, if you're really good with Excel, you can just import all of the shifts that you need by location, by position using the shifts importer. They don't have to be assigned to an employee. You can choose if you want them to be or not, and then import them that way. Another way to do this is you can actually copy previous weeks, or you can use templates. So let's say that you build your schedule, you want to copy from the previous week or time period, so that you just basically move it over and then, start over. You can just copy shifts from a previous week and then pick up where you left off. Bob says, can I set number of days per week or number of hours per day that an employee can work? We have the max number of hours per day coming soon on our product roadmap, but not the number of days per week. But we can certainly add that for you guys. Okay, so copy from previous week. A lot of people also ask about templates. So what you can do is you can actually create a schedule and save it as a template. So I'm going to click this little 3 bars here. So if I click save or create new schedule template, it's going to take my schedule that's in this current view and store it as a template that I can use later. So however you want to do that, if you want to create seasonal templates, you have a summer schedule and a winter schedule, you can save your templates, and then to load your template, you just click load. So it's going to start loading those shifts, and then in a second here, it's going to pop up with all my shifts that I loaded from that template. So it's very easy to, in a lot of ways, just create all the shifts that you need and then go through and assign staff to them based on who can work. So a couple other things here, open shifts. So open shifts are shifts that an employee can see. So I'm going to jump over to the dashboard real quick here. They can see, wow, there's 461 open shifts. So when they log in on their phone, they're going to see these shifts. They can go to these open shifts and they can sign up for them. And it will warn them. So if they're already scheduled to work, it's going to tell them that. If they're going over their max weekly hours, it's going to tell them that too. So, they can have all that information at their fingertips so they don't get double scheduled. And then of course you have the pending approval option. Multiple employees can sign up for each of these shifts, and then you can just approve the person that you want. And then the schedule is automatically updated. So super easy to go through and take care of your open shifts. Of course, everything is all processed and archived for historical purposes as well. And then your schedule is up to date. So next, real quick, everything is unpublished while you're working on it. And then when you're ready, all you have to do is publish. And you can publish the entire week or month or whatever you want. And you can send an alert to all of your employees. So I'm going to say publish this week. They're going to get a notification with a list of the shifts that they were scheduled for. So then they have no excuse for, well, I didn't know I was scheduled to work. They're going to get a notification. And then anytime an update is made, so if I change this shift from ending at 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. and I update, they're going to get a notification to make sure that they're kept in the loop that their shift was updated. So you can publish and notify. If you want to unpublish or publish just one shift specifically, you're more than welcome to do that so that your schedule is out there for everyone to see. Okay. So 2 things. I know we have a couple minutes left. One is our auto schedule. Huge number 1 request, I would say, by people across the board is auto schedule. That's what this A icon is here. So auto schedule, there's a ton of different options. You can assume that they're available if they haven't said that they're unavailable. If they still have a time off request pending approval, but that's not approved, you can choose to include them as well. And you can also include employees with secondary location access to be eligible for those shifts as well. So basically, if you want to just open it up to let the algorithm do all the heavy lifting for you and schedule as many shifts as possible, you've got a lot of options here and a lot of control at your fingertips. Now, the magic here is when you click start auto scheduling. So it's going to say, are you sure you want to do this? And oh, by the way, you just picked a whole bunch of people for all the shifts. You trust that Sandy's going to show up for the 5 a.m. opening shift. If you want to just do half of your schedule so that you have kind of your own human, input because you know people really well and you know who works together well, go ahead and do that. Auto schedule is going to leave your schedule exactly the way that you left it and only fill in the gaps. So I'm just going to click OK. It's going to spin up this background process to start doing your schedule, and it's going to send you an email with results of, which employees were assigned to which shifts. And boom, you just saved a ton of time in doing your staff schedule. So the goal of the algorithm is to basically obviously assign as many shifts as possible and assign as many people up to their desired weekly hours. And it won't double schedule. It won't go over their max weekly hours or anything like that. So everything is already just taken care of for you. Sarah has a question about, do you have to approve all shift pickups or can you set it to do that automatically? So there's two different things. One of them is open shift pickups. You do have to approve those as of right now. And then sub requests is another way for staff to trade shifts with each other. And those ones also require manager approval as well. But it's really quick and easy to do it on your phone. You just click approve. You can get a notification when someone picks up the shift. So then you know right away you can just go in and process it. So I hope that answers that question for you. We have had it requested to make it do automatic. So that is on our product roadmap as well, to just make it so that shift pickups are approved automatically. Okay, so our auto schedule should have gone through and done its work. I'm not going to check my email and look at this specifically. I see a bunch of shifts actually changed from unassigned to assigned. I don't have a ton of availability here in this week specifically, but it's just going to leave the ones unassigned that, you know, it couldn't find somebody to work for. You can go in right here and just mark those as an open shift so that someone can go in there and pick those up. And you can always run auto schedule multiple times too. So if, you know, all of a sudden you have a new employee that's in the system and has some pretty wide availabilities, you can go through in there and just run it again, and it won't make any changes to that schedule. Robin says, if you have a lead guard shift, do you have to have that designation? I assume what you mean by that is if it's a lead guard shift versus a regular lifeguard shift, then yes, you do have to have that designation in order to pick up that shift. So as an example here, Gabriel is assigned this MOD shift. If he requests a sub, and actually I'm going to show you this real quick, you can request a sub as an admin on their behalf. Gabriel requests a sub. Now it says sub requested. When I am an employee and I go to the open sub request page, I will only see shifts that I have the position for. So here's that shift for Gabriel. If I do not have the MOD, or in this example, Robin, as you suggest, the lead guard designation, they will not see that shift. And yes, it is the same for auto scheduling. So in order for Gabriel to be assigned an MOD shift in the auto schedule, he needs to have the MOD or the lead guard designation on his profile specifically. So I hope that answers your guys' questions. That kind of covers the high level points of the schedule. We didn't go into schedule reporting, but basically if you have your hourly rates configured for all of your employees in their positions, you're going to get some high level metrics as to what your total labor costs are in whatever date period of time that you're looking at. So if you want to look at the entire month of January or December or whatever that is, you can do that. The reason why some of these didn't populate is because that employee doesn't have a pay rate on their position on their profile. So once all the data is in there, the analytics are really easy to kind of drill down into what you're looking for. If I want to just look at, say, my MOD costs, you know, drilling into that information is very easy as well. So what other questions do you guys have real quick before we wrap this up? Feel free to drop them over in the Zoom webinar chat or the live Q&A. And I'm going to say I answered these live. Feel free to drop those over there. And I'm trying to think what, oh, printing. So a lot of people will still print their schedule and post it. You can print in any different type of mode to a PDF and then print it from there. You can also, like if you want to show availabilities or approve time off, so then like employees know to not call Josh because he's on vacation this week, you can do show approved time off as well. You can also show open shifts so that they know that those are there. In shift mode, you actually, a lot of people don't know this, you can actually group by time block. And this actually really reduces the amount of space that the schedule consumes. On the web view, it's a little bit different, but group by time block basically will be, let's say that you have multiple employees working from 6 a.m. to 12. It'll just say 6 a.m. to 12, and then it'll say Josh Duffy, Sandy Starfish, Gabriel, Kirsten Barnes, everything underneath there. So you don't get these individual blocks for each person specifically. So that's what group by time block is. That's a good little hack that a lot of people don't know about. A few other things. So like if you want to mark all of your unassigned as open shifts, there's a button to just move everything up to open shifts. So then people can just go sign up for those. And then you can also delete all the shifts in the current view. You want to be really careful with this one. But there's an easy way to clear out your schedule. That's a new update as well. Publishing, auto schedule, templates, copy from previous week, printing, schedules. Oh, so if you have a different day of the week, like you start your week in terms of payroll on Monday, you can just change that. That's kind of a fundamental technical thing in DigiQuatics that usually gets set up immediately, but it's customizable. And then let's see. A lot of times people will build out their schedules, months in advance with the unassigned shifts, and then they'll go through on whatever time period and assign them and publish them. So really, as far as that goes, it's really designed to work with multiple facilities on whatever timeline you work in your current workflow and your process. So it's really designed to be flexible for aquatics operations. And if you have any other questions, feel free to send them to my email. You can reach us at team@digiquatics.com. You should have gotten that in the registrar or the registration confirmation. Any options to add notes to certain shifts that staff can see? Yes. So that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up, Sarah. So basically, if you want to alert staff that there is going to be a day camp during their shift, you can add notes. And actually, I'm surprised I don't have any notes here. So probably, let's say there's a day camp at 9 a.m. You can add notes to the shift. So 9 a.m. day camp, they're going to see those notes on their shift when they log in from their phone. They will also show up when you print the schedule. So that's one way to show notes. Another thing is a lot of times people will put in notes that are just for all staff to see. So let's say that you have a Boy Scout group coming in on this Thursday. Let's say 20 from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. You can save this note. So this will show up for all employees when they're looking at their schedule as well. So if there's, let's say on Saturday, there's going to be a swim meet, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. You can put in notes here, and then these just show up on their schedule. And then we'll say no school for district, X, whatever that is. So you can add multiple notes here. So that this is just an extra communication tool, right? So that your staff can know what's going on at the facility. So thank you for answering that, or thank you for asking that question, Sarah. Let's see, notes, we covered favorite shifts. I think that about wraps it up. There's also an audit logging on all of the features in DigiQuatics. So, a lot of times things get changed. You don't really know who did what and when and things like that. So it's really easy to go back in time and see, who assigned who to this scheduled shift. As with multiple facilities, a lot of times people have, multiple hands working on the schedule as well. So it's really easy to have some good accountability there. So, Bob, can I change the day of the week my schedule starts on? Yes. So if you click settings, you can say my schedule starts on Wednesday. You can update that, and now everything just moves over to Wednesday. I think the default is Sunday, but yes, that's totally customizable. Also, if you're an organization that doesn't allow time off requests at all, you can just disable that, and then staff can't request time off specifically. So a lot of customizability at your fingertips. If you have any questions after the webinar, feel free to just send me an email. Steps here from this path forward. If this seems like a good fit for you, feel free to, there's a couple options. One, we can do a more one-on-one demo with you to kind of show you how this would work with your organization. Number two, we can do a free trial, 30 days. If you'd like to set up your own account, it's completely 100% full featured. You have unlimited access to everything in DigiQuatics. You can invite all your staff and really get a good feel for how everything works. So 30-day free trial. If you're kind of stuck on budgeting and you need a quote, to get approved before you can take the next step, you can also just request a quote on our website as well under the pricing page. So those are 3 different options for moving forward from here. I'm going to continue doing some other webinars on the other modules of DigiQuatics, so keep an eye out for those. And I appreciate your time today. I know it was last minute notice to get this webinar scheduled, but it seems like everybody's just jumping into stuff full speed this year. So I wanted to get it out there. So appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me today, and hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.